Hi, Professor Terry Mandigo here. I'm responding to this week four's quiz about the importance of analyzing the function of a behavior versus just the form of a behavior. Um, when you're looking at the form of a behavior, what you're doing essentially is defining it. You're describing it. You're giving it a name. You're giving it a definition, a category. And when that is true, it often leads to the change, often leads to the change in you. In this case, let's say the teacher versus the student. So it often leads to the change being the, the teacher's response to that student. When you're talking about analyzing the function of the behavior, which is obviously much more important, is you're actually looking at the purpose of the behavior. Why is the student avoiding math? Why is the student sweating and being defiant when she's asked to read aloud? Until you really understand what the student is either gaining or avoiding or escaping from a particular behavior, you really can't have successful change. You can't have successful change when those circumstances occur. So, for instance, if you are, what analyzing a function of a behavior does is it allows you to look at what's happening before the behavior, what's happening, what is the circumstances that surround the behavior itself, and then what's the consequences of the behavior. What is the purpose of that student behaving in that manner? And once you determine that the student, let's say, has a math disability or the student has a language disability, you can't make effective changes. You can't have effective alternatives to those behaviors or more socially adaptable behaviors that are drawn upon when those specific circumstances or that specific scenario repeats itself. So the only way you really can change, permanently change or more successfully change a behavior is to really figure out what the purpose is and what the student is gaining or avoiding. And the only way you can do that is analyze all the events that surround it. Because if you don't analyze it, you don't look at it, you don't measure it, you don't quantify it, you don't look at the data, all you're doing is guessing. This may work, that may work, this is when it will work, this is maybe when it will work. You don't analyze the function of behavior, you can't make the permanent change. And if there's anything I've learned, that has really resonated with me. Hi, Professor Terry Mandigo here. Having a little trouble with my media tonight. So, but anyway, so I'm responding to this week's quiz regarding the importance of analyzing the function of a behavior versus just the form of the behavior. If you're analyzing just or looking at the form of a behavior, basically all you're doing is you're defining it. You're giving it descriptive words. You are giving it a name. You're giving it a category. When you're looking, which essentially does not change anything, effectively change anything, what it tends to do is the change tends to be in your response to the behavior. The change typically happens in you and how you approach the behavior. The importance of analyzing the function of behavior is that, but damn. Hi, Professor Terry Mandigo here, doing this week's four's quiz. I'm having all kinds of technology issues tonight, so hopefully I'll get this. The importance of analyzing the function of a behavior versus just the form of a behavior. When you're looking at the form of behavior, essentially what you're doing is you're just giving it a name. You're describing it. You are perhaps categorizing it. And when you look at the form of behavior, what it tends to do is result in the change in you. In this case, student versus instructor. So it tends to alter the altering comes in your behavior towards your response towards the behavior. The change comes within you. When you're analyzing a behavior, when you're analyzing the function of a behavior, then you're talking about looking at the purpose of the behavior. Why? What is the student getting from it? What is the student avoiding or escaping from from using this particular type of behavior? Why is the student refusing to do the math? Why is the student refusing to read aloud? Why is the student slapping people as they're going down the hall? Why is the student sitting and refusing to get up? If you don't look at the function of that behavior, if you don't analyze the before, the during, the consequence of that behavior, then the intervention, or I should say the change, would be less likely to succeed in terms of replacing it with an alternative behavior that is much more socially acceptable. You have to understand what is the purpose of that student's behavior. Again, if you don't know the purpose of it, then you cannot permanently change it. And by analyzing it, by giving it measurements, giving it data, giving it proof, seeing it, scientifically seeing it, then you can't. Otherwise, it's a guessing game.